Good morning and welcome to February 20th, 2022. My name is Kurt and this is the Good Life Meditation, something I do each and every day, first thing in the morning, to remind myself of my life objectives and principles and to see how I did applying those yesterday and to plan for the coming day. First, last night and yesterday. Slept really well last night. Went to bed right around 9 p.m. Woke up maybe 2 minutes before the alarm at 4:58. Solid night's sleep. Good. Hopefully that will keep up. We'll see once I get back into the thick of it with work. Other than that, yesterday was a great day, really good day. Did our house cleaning in the morning, followed by shopping. We went to Temecula to go to Costco and to Trader Joe's, which is, maybe 12 miles away. And along the way, we saw a sign for an estate sale. So Yumiko suggested we stop and have a look, which we did. It was in one of the older communities here in Menifee. And when I say older, I mean not very old. There's not everything here is new. In fact, that's the city's motto: new, better, best. And Yumiko asked, she says, how long can they hold on to that new slogan? It's interesting having gone from a city, Ventura, that was founded in the 18th century, to a city here that was founded like 3 years ago. Anyway, the estate sale was, as estate sales are, a very sober affair. It's literally someone dies. In this case, it was an old woman, and I think I can safely say she must have been old because it had all the trappings of an old woman, of an old person, I should say. The memorabilia. Everything was in the house exactly as it was. It's like really nothing had really been organized. It's interesting how these things work. And there were two people at the front who welcome you in. And I went through and I was looking for frames. And I found a couple that I liked. But the thing that got me was I found the old woman's Bible. A well-worn affair. Well-loved. Kind of a leather-bound or full leather-bound. It wasn't an expensive one. And then you opened it up and it had markings, prayer hymns. So she had been to church and something had caught her eye and she put it in there. I was really struck by that. And so I found two frames that I wanted, and so I grabbed the Bible, because I need a Bible. I've already got one. I've got a beautiful, my Bible's right over there. It's on a beautiful, big NEV. But that's the problem. It's NEV. I want a King James Bible. Specifically, I want a 1611 King James edition. So when I read the Bible, which I do every day, immediately after this, it's the second thing I do every day. I'll go over, yesterday I said Psalms, I was wrong. I'm on Proverbs. I'm on Proverbs 11 this morning. So the way that I do it is it's a standing affair. Beautiful, like I said, it's a beautiful Bible. My uncle bought it for me. It's got my name on the front. I take really good care of it, and I even went out and bought a really nice wooden stand, and that sort of props up. I've got a special light that goes over the top and shines down. So every morning, the way my routine is, it's in a standing affair. Because I'm a fan of the King James. The NEV is nice, but I like the King James. I like the wording, the language in the King James better. So the way that I do this is I have an app, and I bring up the Bible app, and it plays the King James edition, and I set it down, and it's reading the King James edition in this beautiful, man's voice. Reading, it sounds like God. sounds like what you think Moses would sound like. While I read along, so I'm reading in NEV and I'm listening in King James, and it's interesting to hear the differences. The flow and the pattern, and that process really illustrates the story of the Bible. Not really a story, I guess it is. And you spot out the different things, like, the King James is more likely to use the word hell, where the NEV will use a less provocative term. Anyway, I picked up her Bible. Like I said, I selected it, but before I picked it up, I was looking through it, wondering, is this for sale? Oh, by the way, and the thing that they had done to prepare for this sale is they had one box in the garage that had a piece of tape over the top, and on the tape they had written "Not for sale, family photos." I had missed the tape. I had started looking through the photos. Oh, this is the off limits area. So I let that go. So I realized, so they've got this one little area over here. This is the stuff the family wants to keep. I think that the people doing the sale knew the woman. So but I don't know that they were family. They were elderly themselves. I don't know. Could have been siblings. I'm off track. Anyway, when I was reading through her Bible, I was like, oh, this is King James. I wonder if it's a 1611. So I got to the front. Sure enough, it was. So I had my frames, and I wandered up to the front where the man and the woman were at the table, as such affairs usually are, estate sales. And I asked them, I said, how much for the frames? And I said, is the Bible for sale? And they looked at it, and the man said, $10 for everything. It's a deal. Great. And I felt a little uncomfortable asking for the Bible, asking to buy the Bible. It just felt like it belonged. It felt like it belonged in that box. the Untouchables, right? That's where it felt like it belonged. What are my plans for it? Well, my plan, probably not to use it as reference. I'm diverting in the story just a little bit. Not to use it in reference, because it was in such delicate, fragile state. It was like an old woman herself, very old, weak and arthritic, and maybe slightly demented. I don't know, that didn't come out right. I can't. How do I say it? It just you know the type. You don't want to move her around very much, right? Just get her a nice, comfortable chair by the window to see in the sunshine and enjoy the view. That's what you want to do with a woman like that, in that old, fragile state of age, or a man for that matter. And that's what you want to do with the Bible. So what I do is, at the back of my book, all my books, there's a section here. Here it is. Recommended reading. So, of all the books that I've enjoyed in my life, these are the titles that I recommend. If you liked my story, for further reading, consider these, right? So there's 17 books here laid out, and I actually ordered them in the order in which I would recommend reading them. So if I'm imagining a fresh young mind at age 16 starting off in life, if they were to ask me for a reading list to prime and prepare them for life, this is it, right? Read them in this order. And the Bible's in there. It's the very last one, right? Because I think the Torah's in there too. I think the Bible is best approached after a thorough experience of reading like this. So read all of these books, and then last read the Bible. And I think you'll be in a good, if they followed out this, they'd be in a good position to handle it. So up on my bookshelf here, across, immediately behind you, at the top shelf, I have a special book case. That's those 17 books in that order. And I'm missing a couple. One of the things that I'm missing is a Bible. My Bible's over there. It doesn't belong up there. And specifically, I'm missing a Bible that I wanted to use for show. I've already read all those books. It's there. It's there just kind of like a showpiece from my book. So that was what I had in mind when buying this old woman's 1611 King James edition Bible, was that I would put it up there on the shelf with the others. Make a nice addition. So I bought it. Handed the $10 over. We left. Put the stuff in the car. Miko and I got in the car and we drove to Temecula, 12 miles away. We were going to have pho. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Vietnamese noodles. So we went to a place that we'd found before. And as we were driving down on the freeway, I asked her, I said, did I grab because I've got this big tube I'm going to use for the frame. I didn't tell you about this part, but I'm looking for a frame to put a beautiful print of Nathaniel Hawthorne, the portrait of Nathaniel Hawthorne, the author, in. And I had brought the tube into the house so that I could roll out the picture and try to find a frame. That was unsuccessful. But I asked her, excuse me, did I leave my tube in their house? We weren't sure. I got down to Temecula, went around, opened the back of the Prius, and it wasn't there. I had left it at the house. And I remember specifically where I left it when I put it down to read that woman, to look at that woman's Bible. So got back in the car, drove back to Temecula. Anyway, so we kind of put it offset the whole day. But Miko and I had a nice time anyway. We had a good lunch. We went to a sushi place in Murrieta, and then went back to Temecula and continued our shopping. We had such a nice day. I sure do love spending time with her. We talked about some fun stuff. I'll tell you more about those fun things later, another time. Anyway, the crux of the story is that when I got home, I went to the back of the car. I picked up my tube. I picked up the frames. I had the Bible on the top. And I brought it upstairs to my little office here. And I went to put it down, and I kind of tipped over just a little bit. And that old woman's fragile Bible spilled off the top, landed on the floor, and literally shattered into pages. The spine broke. It's not like it just broke and turned in half. It broke, and then the whole binding fell apart. And it would be like if that same aforementioned old fragile woman fell down a flight of stairs, she would break and possibly die. It's one of the reasons we protect such people from that. I stood there with the frames in my hand, in my tube. I looked down at this shattered Bible. And I was heartbroken. I felt terrible. I felt negligent. I thought in a way that I was going to preserve this woman's love of her Bible. Oh, and by the way, when I was checking it out, when I was buying it, the people, the reason that I knew that they knew her was that they had commented how religious she was, how devout she was. So I know that Bible had probably accompanied her to church for decades. Whether or not she actually read it is beside the point. It was her companion, which heightened the story. So I was really looking forward to taking good care of it. I was going to put it up on my shelf with all my other cherished books, and it would be the piece there. And I would take care of it. I would look after it. And now it was a broken vessel. Again, I just kind of looked at it. No coming back from that. No way to recover it. My next question was, well, now what? What do you do? What do you do with an old Bible. In Japan, that answer was pretty easy. There was an event and a festival, talking about religious items. And in Japan, we dispose of religious items rather regularly. We buy omomori and ofuda at the start of the year in the Shinto tradition, and you would finish those by the end of the year. And there was a special ceremony called the Dendon Yaki. Yaki means to burn. And the Dendon Yaki at most Shinto shrines, you would bring your old religious items and put them into a bucket, a barrel, and then they would be ceremonially burned by the priest. And I looked down at the Bible and I thought, I wish there was what do I do? I'm not aware of any Dendon Yaki for that. So I bagged it up and I put it in the trash. Felt kind of strange. I felt strange more not for the religious thing. I don't fear God's wrath. I don't think God exists. But I do feel for the sentiment of that old woman, even though she's gone. And I don't think she would have appreciated her cherished Bible treated in such a way. Which wasn't overt. I didn't do this on purpose. But I did throw it away on purpose, simply because I don't know of any other way to do it. But I did put it in a bag first. Anyway, not a long story. I am sure that experience and that event and that going through that estate sale will linger with me. In fact, I wrote an essay once called Estate Sale. Estate sales do that to me. There's something about the way that we wait for the old to die, and then we come in and plant a flag or a sign in their front yard and say, come and get it. Pennies on the dollar. And their life dissolves away over the course of a weekend, like a carcass of a deer fallen into a piranha-filled lake, until it's just bones, and then the bones are gone. That's what we do. And I remember doing that in Japan. We did it differently in Japan. I was part of that. We would my antique thingy when I was an antique dealer, so to speak. The way that worked there was that the estate sale people would come to the house, pack everything up, put it in boxes, put it in bags, clean the house out because the house would be sold or demolished. Then bring it to a warehouse where maybe 40 or 50 of us would be there, and they would parade all the stuff up. It would be like a runway, like a model's runway, with all the dealers seated before it, passing by. And they would get up to the top, and the auctioneer would auction it off. And I would watch whole people's lives. The big difference was that in Japan, the photos went too. Never could quite get over that. I didn't see any Bibles. Of course, not a Christian country, but I did see lots of, not a lot. Sometimes I would see religious items, Buddhist items, statues, Jesus statues. And the master of the affair of the auction knew that I could always be counted on to purchase the religious items, which most of the Japanese were a little too superstitious to buy. I had a market for them. The overseas world. That dovetails with another conversation, but I'll save that for tomorrow maybe. Let's do the good life. I'm going to do the lightning round, because I've already spent 20 minutes talking about an estate sale. Here we go. So, 7 objectives. Number 1, to be always ready to die. Number 2, to make good and effective use of time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Number 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. Number 5, to perform good actions. 6, to recognize true limits and true opportunities. And 7, to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly. Okay, now 30 principles. The principle of war. I felt that coming on, sorry. To always be fighting against the things that I think are true. Number 2, the principle of reason. To use reason, honesty, objectivity, and doubt as my tools in that war. Number 3, the homunculus. The reminder that I have no soul, that I just have my consciousness. Number 4, the Anchorhold. The picture of a little rock sticking out of the sea where I stand, my consciousness resides, never really touching or being with anyone, even as close as we may be to them. Each of us are all ultimately alone. Next is the home of good and evil, the reminder that good and bad and the like are all just concepts in our minds. And then the principle of purpose. My purpose is to be a good father, to be a virtuous man in the pursuit of well-being and happiness of others, and myself, of course. Where happiness is defined as the improvement of well-being. And then my third purpose is to share the message of my book, Going Alone, which I'm doing now. And then the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces. And the principle of nature. Those assembled bits and pieces have some quality about them based on their assemblage and their spin and momentum in life. And then the pirate ride, the suggestion that free will is an illusion. And then maturity, which is composed of wisdom and the fortitude to do well. And then the social principle, we each need each other. And then public speaking, the suggestion that we should be very careful with what we say and form our sentences and paragraphs and choose our vocabulary very carefully, and to never ever gossip. And then temperance, the ability to control our consumption, not only of our emotions, but of all the things that we do. And then the horror show, the recognition that life is chock full of terror. And then the next principle is that which must be borne. We have to bear the fact of the horror show, plus all of the responsibilities that we encumber ourselves with along the way, for especially those that we do for good reason, like the responsibilities to care for our families. And then the Feast of Offal, the reminder that we sometimes overflow with our upset. And I try to remind myself not to do that and to not consume the upset of others. I can be there to comfort them, but not to share the feast. And then a reminder that this is the best seat in the house, and to not want to be anyone else or be anything else or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. And then remember that the way forward is to collect facts, be prepared to make a decision, and to not be afraid to lean in with our gut feeling if we're not completely sure. and to remember to attend to finding ourselves at some point in our lives, preferably during our youth, and to give ourselves that, in addition to pursuing the surface level risks of life, of education, work, family, savings. Also find ourselves. And to remember to never settle for hope, or abide faith, or trust dogma, or accept authority, or follow superstition, and never ever to gossip. And to remember that I don't have a soul. There is no such thing as God, apparently. There is no heaven or hell. And I'll never see the ones I love again after I'm dead. So I should reach out to them now and make amends now, and try to resolve justice through sanctioned means in the here and now. To give myself at least one great life adventure, maybe more, and then to be ready to record whatever words come of that. And to remember that life is an arena for the utilization of our principles towards better living. And that every day is an uphill climb, and that the altitude is getting thinner and clearer, and the view so beautiful from high up, if I remember to turn around and look. Life is an arena, like I said. And I want to have little along the way. I want to carry little. I want to be lightly encumbered. Especially now that I've nearly completed my main responsibilities of raising a family. And I want to have fun. Healthy, wholesome fun. For the most part. And that's my good life. Meditation, that is. Now, the plan for the coming day. I'm actually going to go meet a reader, or maybe a follower on YouTube, of my YouTube channel, in Orange County today. That'll be fun. So I'll prepare some books to give him. And then Yumiko and I will spend the morning here. And then we'll drive down and I'll have lunch with this person. I'll drop Yumiko off, do some shopping, and I'll have lunch. Then I'll hook up with her again. And should be a fun day. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.